Hello and welcome to Labor Lens. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's edition of the program, we'll be focusing on the oil and gas sector and some of the challenges it's faced with and how it affects workers. We also have news stories for you. We will be right back. The Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC) has directed any of its state chapters to proceed on industrial action without recourse to the national headquarters once it is not satisfied with the speed of the minimum wage negotiation. President of the NLC, Ayuba Waba, who disclosed this in Abuja recently, hinted that only Taraba State is yet to take any step towards implementing the new national wage of 30,000 naira and the attendant consequential adjustment. He listed Abia, Akwa Ibom, Anambra, Bayelsa, Borno, Delta, Ebonyi, Edo, FCT, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Lagos, and Ondo as states that have signed agreements with Labour, while agreement has been reached but yet to be signed in Cross River, Enugu, and Sokoto. According to RIM, negotiation is ongoing in 17 states that include Adamawa, Bauchi, Benue, Ekiti, Gombe, Imo, Kogi, Kwara, Nasarawa, Niger, Ogun, Osun, Oyo, Plateau, Rivers, Yobe, and Zamfara.
In a January 2021 report, the International Labour Organization estimated that in 2020, COVID-19 wiped off 225 million full-time equivalent working hours from the labour market. The report says 114 million jobs were lost temporarily and a further 33 million jobs disappeared permanently due to the pandemic. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 about a year ago in Nigeria, the average worker has not stopped counting losses. The economy was shut down in an unavoidable lockdown. In Nigeria, the impact of COVID-19 is no less daunting as the gross domestic product shrunk by 34.1%. Solidarity. It is the first NEC meeting of the Congress in the year, and a wide range of national issues take center stage. The Congress tasked governments across Africa to invest in research that will lead to affordable and effective COVID-19 vaccines, especially as the second wave bites harder on citizens.
Challenge of COVID-19 and the way our manor unions have responded to protect jobs and means of livelihood, we have been able to also confront the second wave of the COVID-19. The challenges are very obvious.
Other issues including insecurity, minimum wage, economy, persistent increase in the price of petrol and electricity tariff also received mention. The Congress says it will not relent in the struggle for the emancipation of its members.
We have looked at the challenge of insecurity in this country, and basically there are many states today that people cannot work freely. An example was given to us about the issue of Niger, where 3 local governments are no-go areas because of banditry and kidnapping.
On the sidelines, the National Body of Parliamentary Staff comes here to solicit support from the parent body as it gets set to declare a nationwide strike across all state houses of assembly and the National Assembly over the union's unanswered demands. PEGASSAN seeks the implementation of legislative financial autonomy.
After today, which is the expiration day of the 21 days ultimatum, another 14 days will be given as directed by the NEC. As CWC members were directed by the NEC to issue 14 days ultimatum again. And if nothing happens then, we'll take the bull by the horn.
2 years after it convoked a national security conference, the NLC says it is worried by Nigeria's worsening insecurity. It has therefore called for stronger proactive steps as it prepares for another conference on security.
Since 2018, Osun State government under the leadership of Gboyega Oyetola has ensured prompt and full payment of salaries and pension. Despite the lockdown occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic, which crippled the economy, the governor also approved the new minimum wage and lifted ban on promotion and conversion. In continuation of his commitment to the welfare of retirees, particularly those who retired on contributory pension scheme, another set of people are receiving their bond certificates.
Today's event involves state retirees, local government retirees, as well as retired primary school teachers.
Presenting the certificates to the beneficiaries, Governor Gboyega Oyetola says his administration has not defaulted in the payment of benefits of pensioners.
Our administration's commitment to the welfare of workers, both serving and retired, remains unwavering. This we have continued to do through the regular and prompt payment of full salaries and allowances to all categories of active workers, as well as full pension to all our pensioners at all levels.
The state head of service, Oyebade Olowo-Gboyega, and the state chairman of the Nigeria Labour Congress, Jacob Adekomi, promised workers support for the governor.
I must tell you now that Mr. Governor has been able now to, plus the local government, the state pension, parastatal, everybody, he has been able now to pay about 30 billion naira since 2018, November till now. And by the grace of, he pays every month.
It has not been easy, especially when we look at the finances of the state. But by and large, the governor has done well. He has fulfilled some of the promises that he will make our pensioners happy.
The beneficiaries are appreciative of governor's efforts aimed at making life more comfortable for them.
Last year, when we had a meeting with you, you promised that at the end of every month, you will be paying certain sum of money into the account of contributing pensioners in Osun State. Thank you for honoring that promise.
On the profile interview segment this week, we will be speaking with the national president of PEGASSAN, Comrade Festus Osifio. He tells me about what the union is doing to ensure that workers' welfare is being protected in the oil and gas sector. Comrade President, it's good to have you on the program.
All right, thank you.
Considering global efforts to developing renewable energy, what does the future hold for the oil and gas sector in Nigeria?
Yes, renewable energy has come to stay. It will continually evolve. But the recent study from OECD and OPEC shows that oil and gas will continuously be relevant for at least 20-25 years, if not more, because there are some countries that are still developing, most especially the Sub-Saharan Africa, as well as the Southeast Asia. These countries will rely 80% of their energy need on the oil and gas. So what that means is that there will still be market for oil and gas for the foreseeable future. But that doesn't mean that as a country, we should not be prepared for what is coming, for green energy and for renewable energy, because that is where the future actually lies. So Nigeria as a country should start preparing today. They should start investing the revenue generated from oil and gas in infrastructures and even in renewables, because today wind technology is gaining traction all over the world. Today, biomass as well is also gaining traction all over the world. So in general, we should be prepared as a country. We should know that the party will soon be over, and the earlier we realize this, the better for us as a nation. Then as an association, PEGASSAN, we are prepared for the transition. We will continually put modality in place so that over time we will be well positioned and well positioned. As recently, although it's still unconfirmed, that they will be closing that department very soon. So that means that the world is gradually moving from the oil and gas, from the fossil fuel to renewables. So we should be prepared so that we'll not be caught in the web.
As the national president of PEGASSAN, what kind of reform would you suggest to the government to ensure that we have a more robust economy?
Yes, we need a very serious reform in the oil and gas sector, the kind of reform that will increase the ease of doing business in the oil and gas sector. If you could remember that the last report from the World Bank places Nigeria in 131st position out of about 190 countries surveyed for ease of doing business. This is not a good news for us in any way. The World Economic Forum Global Competitive Index also placed Nigeria in 115 out of about 140 countries surveyed. So what that means is that as an investor, when you look at this report, you want to position yourself in a country that the ease of doing business is much more better. So any reform that we are aiming at in the oil and gas industry must be a reform that will increase the ease of doing business, so that an investor who is coming from the developed world will be able to get all the information relating to the oil and gas industry in a first swoop, so that at the end of the day, the bottlenecks will be removed. At the end of the day, all the issues relating to setting up businesses, relating to bringing investment into the country should be minimized. Then again, one other effect that it also has is our monetary and fiscal policies. All of them should be looked at. So when we are planning for a reform in the oil and gas industry, it should be a holistic reform that will bring more investment into the country.
Okay, the passage of the PIB or the PIGB has become elusive for Nigeria. What would you think is responsible for this?
If you look at, Sharon, if you look at the last few years, you will realize that on an annual basis, about 17 billion USD has been coming into Africa, into the oil and gas industry in Africa. But you'll be surprised that out of this, only about 18%, about 3 billion comes into Nigeria. But before now, we were attracting over 50 to 70% of the funds that are invested in oil and gas industry in Africa. So can you imagine, from about 60% to where we are currently at about 18%, we cannot grow like this. So the PIB must pass a fiscal regime that will create incentives for the oil and gas companies to invest. It is only through that we can move into production of close to 3 million barrels per day in maybe the next 2-3 years. But if we don't do that, sorry, that is going to be a bit difficult, because today oil is found in over 25 countries in Africa, unlike 10-15 years ago where it was just about 4, 5, 6 countries. So we must create incentives to bring in this investment. But in doing this, the government at the end of the day will also make money. So now there must be a balance. If you create an entry barrier that is a bit difficult, investors will take their money and invest in other countries. But if you create a fiscal regime that is investment friendly, what is going to happen at the end of the day is that investors will come in, your production will expand, your reserves will improve. So eventually, government will make much more money than it is making today. So we must strike that balance. And that is the PIB that we are hoping, and that is the PIB that we are advocating for as PEGASSAN and NUPEC, because we had a joint position on this.
So how would you say the PIB is critical to the sector?
If the PIB is signed into law, if a balanced PIB, I'm using that word with all intent and purpose. If a balanced PIB is signed into law, what is going to happen is that it will remove the uncertainty that has been created in the last 20 years. You know that today we have about 37 billion barrels of reserves of crude oil. The total investment that we have gotten in Nigeria in the last 10 years, you cannot compare to a country that is as small as Guyana, that have about 7 billion barrel reserves. They have attracted close to 50 billion USD in the last 10 years. But a country like Nigeria, we are struggling. So that is the malady. That is where we are today. And that is why I'm relatively excited that the PIB has gained some traction in the National Assembly. And we strongly believe that it will be passed. But we advise as well that we should pass a PIB that is balanced, a PIB that will create a win-win situation in the oil and gas industry. That is the only way investment can be guaranteed. To also add as well that we must also create a PIB at the end of the day that will protect the workforce, a PIB that will protect the workers. Because in the new PIB, there's going to be a transition from NNPC as it is today to NNPC Limited. There's going to be a transition from DPRO as it is today, from Petroleum Equalization Fund, from PPPPROA. There's going to be a transition to the Regulatory Commission or the Regulatory Authority, although we are advocating that they should be one. So now in the process, the welfare of workers should be sacrosanct. In the process, the collective bargaining agreement of workers should be sacrosanct. So we will be there as PEGASSAN, as NUPEN, to ensure clearly that the transition is very smooth.
Nigeria has witnessed several increase in fuel pump price. As the president of PEGASSAN, do you think it's okay for Nigerians to continue to pay more for petroleum produce, owing to the fact that with the indices, there might be another increase in fuel pump price?
Today, most international oil companies, they are refusing to come to Nigeria to set up refineries. The reason is very, very simple, because government is regulating the space. Like, as I have made several examples, that you cannot plant tomatoes. And in the process of planting tomatoes, you source for your fertilizer, you source for the seedling, you source for the labor. So government does not know why you are sourcing for all these. Then at the end of the day, you produce these products, you bring it to market, and government will now fix the price for you. As an investor, you will be wary. As an investor, you will be careful. So that is the situation we are in. In fact, in the last 20, 30 years, I can tell you that we have not achieved reasonable growth in the downstream sector of the Nigerian oil and gas industry. So based on all these, the Labour now agreed with government that, okay, we could go the route of deregulation. But in going the route of deregulation, there are some certain things you must do. A committee was set up between Labour and federal government to look at the template of PPPROA and to look at how can we best suggest to government to have a system whereby the people will not be exploited, whereby the marketers will not exploit the people. So we have met at that committee level. We have looked at this template. We have submitted the PEGASSAN and NUPEN, NLC and TUC. We were all represented in that committee. So we've looked at it and we have come to a conclusion. The report has been submitted. So currently, Labour is studying that report, and I think very soon there will be a meeting where the evaluation will be carried out.
We know that if the local refineries in the country is working optimally, of course, Nigerians will be able to get cheaper fuel produce. So would you say that, or what can you attribute to the reason why we don't have local refineries performing optimally?
For the issue of refinery, the agreement that was also signed, the communique that was also signed in September 28, 2020, Labour also insisted that the refinery must work. So before now, government have been fixing refineries and they have been keeping Labour in the dark. What that means is that Labour it is what they report to us that we know. But we insisted that for the very first time, Labour must be represented in the apex committee of government that is overseeing the rehabilitation of the refineries. I can categorically confirm to you today that a lot of work has been done at the back end, because both PEGASSAN and NUPEN, we are represented in the steering committee and we are holding them accountable to be extremely sure that the needful is being done. Today, I can categorically tell you that a lot of work is currently being put on to get a contractor to rehabilitate the Port Harcourt refinery. What is going to happen in Port Harcourt refinery is quite different from what has been happening before. Because when we got to the committee as Labour, we asked government, why is it that in the past you've made several attempts to fix these refineries and it never worked? What can we do differently to ensure that this time around the refinery is fixed? And I could tell you that before now, what was being done was, okay, turnaround maintenance that we've heard a number of times. But today, it is actually a total rehabilitation. So total rehabilitation is different from turnaround maintenance. So, and I can tell you that we are on track, and that the GMD currently in NNPC, you know, he's a Labour man. He was a PEGASSAN group chairman around late 1990s. And I could tell you that to a very large extent, there's some level of transparency, and we are there to monitor what is happening. At any point that there is a deviation, we will cry out and we will let Nigerians know what is happening to our refineries. But as of today, I think some mileage are being achieved.
In the oil and gas industry, we continue to hear of layoffs, casualization of workers, outsourcing of workers. What is the union doing to address this ugly trend?
We have been visiting lots of agencies that are responsible for regulating the oil and gas industries. We have met with them. We are trying to push from all ends. While we are holding those companies down, we are preventing them from exporting our jobs abroad. But the regulatory agencies, they must be up and running. You cannot sit down and allow Nigerian jobs to be exported abroad in the name of the fact that they want to be cost efficient. For us, it is not proper. For us, it should never be done. And we condemn it in all ramification. Let them bring that hub to Nigeria. For example, you can make Nigeria IT hub. Lagos, for example, have a lot of infrastructure to make Nigeria IT hub in such a way that a lot of these IOCs should be encouraged to bring the ITs all over the world and situate it in the hub in Nigeria. With that, I believe they will become much more competitive and they will increase efficiency and competitiveness. So for us, we are completely against outsourcing. We believe clearly that, that our jobs should not be outsourced. And we also believe that the issue of casualization, we must put our hands together to ensure that casualization becomes a thing of the past. Because I could tell you that that is the form of a modern day slavery. In the oil and gas industry today, there are a lot of casual workers who are paid peanuts at the end of the month. And these people, they do some fantastic jobs. So for us, we will continually push for it. For us, we will continually advocate that there should be equal pay across board, so that the divide between a man that is said to be a permanent staff and the other one that is said to be a casual staff will be reduced to the barest minimum.
What is your view on the cost reduction drive in the upstream sector, which was recently launched at the NNPC Towers by the Minister for State for Petroleum?
For us, we are totally in support of this. But what we are not in support of is that this program should not become an avenue where our member salaries will be tampered with. We will not allow that. For us, in the oil and gas industry, over the years, our pay has been eroded by constant devaluation. A man who was employed 10 years ago, you cannot compare what that man earns today with his counterpart who was also employed in other parts of the world that is earning USD. Because the business that we do is, crude oil is sold in dollars. So the business is dollarized. So at the end of the day, we are worse off. At the end of the day, the devaluation has completely eroded our pay, and we will not be ready for any pay cuts. We will not be ready for anything that will stagnate the pay of the worker in the oil and gas industry. But we are ready to partner with them in other areas in area of logistics, in areas of operational efficiency. We are ready. We have been doing this in the past. In all the houses, PEGASSAN members have raised salient areas and salient points that management should look at in order to be much more efficient and in order to optimize their operations. We are ready to keep doing what we know how to do best.
It was an interesting conversation I had with you. And that's all we can take on to this edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.